After 5 years, he told me I wasn't wife material. Now I'm the one he regrets. It wasn't the proposal I'd been waiting for. It was a confession I never saw coming. We were in the middle of folding laundry. That's how normal the moment was. I was pairing socks and asking if he wanted to go visit my parents that weekend. And without looking up from the shirt he was folding, Marcus said, "You know, I've never really imagined myself marrying someone like you, right?" I stopped, sock in hand, heart in throat. What does that mean? He kept folding. Calm, like we were discussing dinner. I just mean, you're not the kind of girl I pictured myself ending up with. Like, when I was younger, I thought I'd marry someone flashier. I don't know. Someone who turned heads. I said nothing. He added, "You're amazing, don't get me wrong. You're smart and loyal, and you've always been good to me. But you're safe." I remember blinking, trying to compute the word. Safe. Not beautiful. Not breathtaking. Not someone who made him feel like he won. Just dependable. Familiar. Easy to overlook. The kind of love people don't post about. I don't remember how I responded. I think I laughed. Or maybe I changed the subject. I know I didn't cry. Not in front of him. Not then. We'd been together 5 years. I'd met him at 22. He was 2 years older, working retail while trying to get his business degree. I helped him study for accounting finals. I cooked for him when he worked overtime. I was there when he landed his first full-time job, and we celebrated with frozen pizza on a futon we couldn't afford. We moved in together after a year. Merged finances after 3. His family called me a good influence. My friends called him dependable. We weren't glamorous, but we were solid, or so I thought. He told me he loved me every day, kissed me goodnight, asked for help decorating his sister's baby shower. But he never once talked about a future. Never once used the word wife unless it was a joke. Never once mentioned rings, dates, venues. I thought he was just waiting for the right time. Turns out, he was just waiting to decide if I was worth the risk of forever. And I wasn't. At least not to him. The worst part wasn't what he said that night. It was how casual it was. How certain he seemed that I would stay anyway. That I'd fold the rest of the laundry, kiss him on the cheek, and keep playing the role of a woman good enough to live with, but not good enough to marry. But I didn't. I finished folding in silence. Then I walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and finally cried the way I should have cried years ago. Not because he said I wasn't wife material, but because a small part of me believed him. We met at a campus job fair. I was in my last year of undergrad, majoring in communications and juggling 2 part-time jobs. He was working the booth for a cell phone carrier, pitching data plans to students and offering promo t-shirts with forced charm. I wasn't impressed, but he was persistent. He said I had kind eyes, asked if I wanted to get coffee sometime. When I finally agreed, he showed up 15 minutes early with 2 lattes. 1 regular, 1 decaf, because he wasn't sure what I preferred. It was thoughtful. I liked that. He didn't have much, but neither did I. We were 2 broke kids with big plans and no roadmap. We spent late nights binging Netflix on a cracked TV and talking about the lives we'd have someday. He said he wanted to run a small business, something that mattered. I said I wanted stability and someone to build with. We talked about everything back then, except marriage. But that didn't worry me. Not at first. I was always the planner between us. I handled rent, organized the holiday trips, helped him clean up his resume when he wanted to level up from retail. I still remember the day he landed his first real job. He called me before he even told his mom. Said, "You're the first person I wanted to tell. I couldn't have done this without you." I beamed like it was my win, because in some ways it was. We celebrated with takeout and wine in plastic cups. I made a toast. To us and everything we're building. He kissed me and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And I believed him. For 5 years, I made us my mission. Birthdays, anniversaries, job changes, grief, I was there. I learned his routines. Remembered how he liked his coffee, what brands of deodorant he used, which cousin he couldn't stand. I kept us moving when things got hard, when he got discouraged, when the money was tight or the world felt small. People called us a real couple. We weren't flashy or Instagram perfect, but we worked. That's what everyone said. He was calm and grounded, and I was sharp and steady. Together, we made sense. Except for the part where we were standing still. He never said he didn't want to get married. He just avoided it. Laughed it off when friends asked. Said someday when my mom hinted. Changed the subject if I lingered on bridal showers or proposal videos too long. I made excuses. He was waiting for the right time. He wanted to be financially secure. Maybe he was just scared of jinxing something good. I told myself love didn't need a title. That commitment wasn't defined by rings or paperwork. But deep down, I was waiting for him to see me the way I saw him. As home, as forever. And the longer I waited, the more I folded myself into the version of me he needed. Steady, supportive, easy to lean on. Safe. Too safe. Looking back, the signs were always there. Small things. Quiet things. The way he stiffened slightly when I reached for his hand in public. The pause, barely a second, before he laced his fingers through mine like he was doing it on delay. The way he called me babe, instead of my name when we were around his friends. Generic. Neutral. Like my name was too sharp. Too specific. Too real. I noticed the first time he posted a group picture on Instagram and cropped me out. It was from his coworker's birthday dinner. A blurry snapshot of the table, drinks mid-clink. I'd been sitting beside him, smiling. I knew I was in the original shot. I watched him take it. But when he uploaded it later, I wasn't in the frame. When I asked why, he said, "Oh, it was just a bad angle. You looked tired." I believed him. Or maybe I just wanted to. Then came the engagement party. His college friend, Blake, was proposing to his girlfriend. He invited us to celebrate. Everyone was dressed up, taking photos, talking about venues and rings. I stood beside Marcus, waiting to be introduced. "This is Everly," he said finally. "We've been together a while. That's all. Not my girlfriend. Not the love of my life. Just someone he'd collected time with." I tried to laugh it off. Later that night, I asked him why he didn't say more. "You're reading into things," he said, slipping his shoes off. "Not everything needs a label. But that's the thing about love. When it's proud, it doesn't need to be asked to show up. It just does." And Marcus? Marcus only showed up when it was convenient. When we were alone, I felt like everything to him. But the second we stepped outside the walls of our apartment, I became optional. Like I was part of the life he lived, but not the future he wanted people to see. The worst part, I adjusted. I stopped reaching for his hand in public. Stopped tagging him in photos. Stopped asking, "Do you see us getting married someday?" Because I already knew the answer. He liked what I gave him, the emotional labor, the stability, the support. But he didn't want to claim me. Not the way I deserved. He liked coming home to me. But he didn't want to take me out and show me off. I started feeling it in my chest, a quiet ache that flared any time someone posted a proposal video or shared a wedding date. I smiled for them. And then I went home and stared at the ceiling, wondering what was wrong with me. Why I wasn't enough. Why he kept choosing comfort over commitment. Why I was always good in private, but never good enough to be chosen in public. It happened on a Sunday night. We were curled up on the couch, half watching a movie we'd seen before. I was scrolling through my phone, looking at a post my cousin had shared, a sunset proposal on the beach, captioned, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." Without thinking, I said, "Remember when we used to talk about getting married in Puerto Rico?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He shifted slightly, pulling the blanket tighter around himself like he needed armor. Then, without looking at me, he muttered, "I don't think I see us getting married anymore." I stared at him. "What?" He paused the movie, turned to face me. "You're amazing," he said quickly. "You've always been good to me. You've been there when no one else was." "But," he trailed off. "But what?" I asked. My voice didn't shake. "Not yet." He exhaled. "You're not the kind of woman I pictured marrying." I blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means you're safe. You're the one I needed when I was trying to get my life together. But now that things are better, I don't know." He hesitated again. "I always thought I'd marry someone a little more striking. Someone who turns heads when she walks into a room. Someone I'd be proud to post about." My mouth went dry. "So you're saying I'm not pretty enough?" He winced. "I didn't say that. But that's what you meant. When I think about what my life's supposed to look like, I never imagined it like this." I sat perfectly still. He kept talking. "You're amazing, Everly. You are. I care about you so much. But maybe we're just not meant to go the whole distance." I nodded slowly. Got up. Walked into the kitchen. Not because I needed anything. I just needed to move. To stop the scream rising in the back of my throat. I stared at the fridge. At the picture of us on vacation in Arizona. Me laughing, sunburnt, messy ponytail, no makeup. Marcus had taken that photo. Said it was his favorite. I reached up and pulled it down. Because now I knew. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a trophy. And I wasn't a trophy. I was the training wheels. The backup plan. The placeholder for the life he really wanted once he felt worthy enough to claim it. And I had given him everything. my time, my love, my belief. Also, he could look me in the eye and say, "Not quite." I didn't leave him that night. I wish I had. But heartbreak doesn't always come with immediate clarity. Sometimes it drips in slowly, like a leak in your ceiling. Quiet, persistent, damaging. So I stayed. I slept beside him in silence. Made coffee the next morning. Went to work. Answered texts. Smiled when people asked how things were going. And every time I did, something inside me crumbled a little more. I started pulling back inch by inch. Not to punish him. Not even consciously. It just hurt too much to keep showing up for someone who had already decided I wasn't worth staying for. I stopped initiating affection. Stopped suggesting date nights. Stopped asking about the future. We became roommates. Civil, familiar. Distant. He didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he did, and he just welcomed the distance. I started going to therapy. I didn't tell him. I just needed someone to help me find myself again. The version of me that existed before I molded myself around someone else's vision of love. The therapist asked me in our first session, "What do you want?" I didn't know how to answer. Because for 5 years I hadn't thought about that. I knew what Marcus wanted. What made him feel supported. What meals he liked. What topics to avoid. What compliments soothed his ego without making him feel scrutinized. But me, I didn't know what kind of life I wanted anymore. Just that it didn't look like this. So I started unraveling. Softly. I went to yoga. Got drinks with friends I hadn't seen in months. Spent long afternoons at bookstores, wandering aisles I used to love. I wore my hair differently. Bought red lipstick for the first time in years. I didn't even wear it. I just needed the reminder that I could still choose something bold. Marcus didn't comment. Didn't ask where I'd been when I got home late. Didn't notice the quiet between us stretching longer and longer. One night, I came home from therapy and found him on the couch, scrolling his phone. "Hey," he said. "I think we're out of eggs." That was it. No, how are you? No, how was your day? No, are we okay? Just eggs. And in that moment, I realized he had already moved on. Emotionally, if not physically. He'd made peace with the idea that I was temporary. That I wouldn't be the person standing next to him in a suit and white dress. And I was starting to make peace with that too. Because if he couldn't see what was extraordinary about me, then maybe he never really saw me at all. It started with silence. The kind that isn't lonely, just clean. I stopped waiting for his attention. Stopped measuring my worth by the curve of his compliments or the absence of his affection. Instead, I started taking care of myself like I was someone worth showing up for. I booked a facial. A real one. Not the DIY clay mask I used to slap on at midnight with Netflix in the background. This one came with steam, serums, and a woman who looked me in the eye and said, "You have such beautiful skin." I almost cried, because I couldn't remember the last time someone said that to me without hesitation. Without making it sound like a consolation prize. I went to the dentist. Bought new workout clothes. Rejoined the book club I quit 2 years ago because Marcus said Thursday nights were our time, even though he spent most of them on his laptop. I dyed my hair darker. Cut long layers into it. Bought a shade of lipstick called Blood Moon that made me feel dangerous, even if I still only wore it in the mirror. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I started smiling again. Not performative smiles. Not the kind you wear so people don't ask questions. Real ones. Smiles that came when I heard my favorite song on the radio. When the barista remembered my order. When I caught my own reflection and thought, "Hey, you look radiant." Marcus noticed eventually. Sort of. He started complimenting me again. "You look really nice today. Did you do something different with your hair? You've been glowing lately." I'd nod. Say thank you. Then go back to whatever I was doing. Because I wasn't glowing for him. And I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology. Or a ring. Or a version of love that only lived behind closed doors. I didn't want to be adored in silence. I wanted to be claimed. Out loud. With pride. By someone who didn't need to squint to see my worth. And Marcus? He was starting to realize the difference. I still lived in the same apartment. Still woke up in the same bed. But everything felt different now. Because for the first time in 5 years, I wasn't chasing him. I was choosing me. And I liked who I was becoming. He moved on quickly. 3 months after his, "I don't think I see us getting married" speech, he soft-launched her on Instagram. A blurry photo of 2 wine glasses, a hand with long red nails, and the caption, "Needed this night out." Subtle, but deliberate. I didn't ask. I didn't say a word. But I knew. The next time I saw him, He confirmed it without trying. She had a name like a perfume ad. Soft, lilting, effortlessly Instagrammable. She worked in marketing, always dressed like she was heading to a photo shoot. Hair that bounced. Heels that clicked. Laughter that sounded rehearsed but magnetic. The kind of woman who did turn heads. They showed up at a mutual friend's engagement party. I hadn't expected them there. Honestly, I hadn't expected to go myself. But I said yes at the last minute. I felt ready. And I was. He saw me across the room and froze. I wasn't wearing anything dramatic. Just a soft green dress, and the lipstick I'd bought for myself months earlier. My hair was up. My earrings shimmered when I moved. I felt like myself, but fuller. Rooted. She clung to his arm like she was claiming something. I nodded politely. They didn't approach me right away. Later, in the buffet line, he finally spoke. "Hey, Ev." I turned. "Hey." He gestured toward her. "This is." "I know," I said, smiling gently. "I've seen the posts." Her smile faltered. "Just for a second." "It's good to see you," he said. "You look different." "Better, you mean?" I asked. He laughed nervously. "Yeah, better." There was an awkward pause. I could feel her watching me, trying to place what I was. An ex. A threat. A shadow. I wasn't any of those. I was free. When the party ended, I saw them leaving. She leaned into him, giggling too loudly at something he hadn't said yet. He opened the car door for her like a well-rehearsed scene. And all I could think was, he finally found the kind of girl he could show off. And I wasn't jealous. I wasn't even sad. Because I wasn't the woman he was ashamed of anymore. I was the one who walked away when being safe meant being sidelined. And I liked the life I was building, quiet, whole, unscripted. She could have the spotlight. Because I had the peace. It started with a text. "Hey, been thinking about you lately. Hope you're doing okay." I stared at it for a long time. It had been almost 6 months since I saw him last. Since the engagement party. Since I watched him walk away with his new, shiny, camera-ready girlfriend. I didn't reply. 2 days later. Saw that book you posted about. Downloaded it. Made me think of our late-night conversations. Miss those. Still, I said nothing. The next message was less subtle. "I'm sorry, Everly. For everything. I wasn't fair to you. I missed the way we used to be." There it was. The real motive. He didn't miss the conversations. He missed the version of himself that didn't feel lost. I still didn't respond. But then came the call. Blocked number. Straight to voicemail. I don't know what I was thinking. You were the only person who ever really saw me. I thought I needed someone different. I didn't realize. I already had someone incredible. Please. Just coffee. No pressure. Just 2 people catching up. This time I hesitated. Not because I wanted him back. But because I wanted to hear it. I wanted him to see what he threw away. Not for revenge. Just so there would be no more pretending. I picked the cafe. Neutral. Familiar. Safe. I arrived 5 minutes early. Wore a soft gray wrap dress and gold hoops. No lipstick this time. Just me. When he walked in, he froze in the doorway like he wasn't prepared to see me like this. Grounded. Glowing. Unbothered. He slid into the booth across from me. "You look amazing," he said. "Thank you," I replied simply. He talked first. Nervously. Said things like, "You were always my best friend," and "I didn't realize how much I leaned on you until you weren't there." I listened. He told me the new relationship had ended. Said she was never really interested in anything real. That she liked being adored but didn't know how to love back. I almost laughed. But I didn't. Instead, I asked, "So what is this, Marcus? A reset?" He looked hopeful. "Maybe. If you're open to it." I smiled, soft but clear. "I'm not." His face dropped. I leaned forward. "You didn't break my heart, Marcus. You woke me up. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm not the woman who cried in the bathroom anymore. I'm not the one waiting to be chosen." He swallowed hard. "I chose wrong." "I know," I said. But I didn't. I stood. He didn't move. And for once, I didn't feel like I owed him anything. Not closure. Not comfort. Not softness. I had already given him all of that. And now, I was choosing me. Again. And again. And again. After the coffee, he kept trying. At first, it was light. "Saw this and thought of you. Remember that hike we never finished? Your birthday's coming up. Can I take you to dinner?" I responded once. A simple, polite message. "I appreciate it, but we're in different places now." He replied with a sad face emoji, followed by silence. For 3 days. Then the slow drip resumed. "Wish I'd known then what I know now. No one's made me feel the way you did. You were always more than enough, I just didn't see it. I didn't reply. Because I knew what he was really saying. He was alone. And he wanted me to fill the space he'd hollowed out when he decided I wasn't good enough to stand beside him in a suit and tie. But I wasn't interested in being his backup plan. I wasn't flattered. I was exhausted. He tried again when he found out I'd been promoted. A friend had shared the announcement on LinkedIn. New role, new title, new photo where I looked exactly how I felt, powerful, poised, and done pretending. He sent a message that said, "Proud of you. Really. You always had it in you." It felt like praise from a man who finally realized the seed he'd discarded grew into something beautiful without him. And I wasn't bitter. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just clear. He didn't want me. He wanted the version of me that existed before the mirror cracked, before I saw how small he made me feel. He wanted the version who still waited, still hoped, still folded herself into maybe someday. But that version of me? She was long gone. The new me? She was busy booking flights, meeting people who asked about her dreams instead of just her schedule, and waking up without anxiety curled in her chest like a sleeping dog. He started showing up in places I hadn't expected him. Parties, mutual friends' gatherings, grocery stores he never used to shop at. Always just running into me. Always with the same lost look in his eyes. Like he was searching for a door he used to walk through without knocking. But I'd locked it. Deadbolted it. Removed the frame entirely. And every time I saw him, I felt lighter. Because the more he reached, the more I saw it clearly. The only reason he wanted me now was because he couldn't have me anymore. It wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't even planned. We bumped into each other in the frozen aisle of a late-night grocery run, both holding baskets, both startled. I could have turned, pretended not to see him, but I didn't. He smiled, sheepish. Hey. He looked tired. Not physically, just tired in a way that sat behind his eyes. The kind of tired that comes from knowing you made the wrong choice, and the clock won't run backward. We chatted for a minute, small talk about weather, work, the overpriced blueberries on the end cap. Then he said it. Do you ever think about us? I paused. Set my basket down. Yes, I said. I think about how I spent 5 years trying to earn love I already deserved. And how the moment you decided I wasn't worth marrying was the moment I stopped needing your validation. He blinked. I wasn't angry. I wasn't loud. Just done. You said I was safe, I continued. That I wasn't the kind of woman you pictured yourself with. And for a long time, I believed that meant I wasn't beautiful. Not enough. But the truth is, you didn't want someone who saw you. You wanted someone who'd make you look good. He looked down at his shoes. You could have had forever, Marcus. All you had to do was choose me, proudly, fully, and out loud. But you didn't. And I will never beg someone to see me again. His voice was barely a whisper. I do see you. I smiled. Soft. Sad. Free. I know. But now you're too late. I picked up my basket. He didn't follow me. Didn't ask for more. He just stood there, beside the freezer full of boxed meals and broken promises, watching me walk away with the kind of quiet you don't recover from. And this time, I didn't feel like I was leaving anything behind. I felt like I was finally, fully walking toward myself. After that night, he unraveled. He texted 3 times the next day. Called once. Left a voicemail that started strong and ended with a voice crack he couldn't cover. I don't know what I was thinking. I let the best thing in my life slip away, and now it's like I can't catch my breath. I didn't respond. He sent flowers to my apartment. White lilies and a note that said, "You were always enough." I wasn't. I threw them out without opening the card. Then came the mutual friend pings. Hey, Marcus was asking if you're seeing anyone. He said he's thinking about therapy. He says he still loves you. I didn't respond to those either. Because by the time he was falling apart, I had already built something new. Not a new relationship, not yet, but a new rhythm, a new peace. I had new routines now. A Sunday morning ritual at the flower market. A solo trip booked for spring. A circle of people who never asked me to shrink to be loved. And more than anything, I had my voice back. The one I used to quiet whenever he looked uneasy. The one I muted to make our world more comfortable. Now it was clear, and it had nothing left to say to him. He emailed next. A long, rambling note with lines like, "You were my grounding," and "I didn't know how to value you until you left." It would have destroyed me a year ago. Now, it felt like a draft of an apology he didn't know how to finish. I forwarded it to my archive folder and went back to work. The last message came 2 weeks later. A picture of the apartment keys I gave him, resting in his palm. Still holding on. Don't know why. I read it once, then deleted it. Because the truth is, Marcus didn't lose me when he said I wasn't wife material. He lost me the moment he decided I was too safe to celebrate, too ordinary to claim, too quiet to keep. And now I was radiant in my own lane, whole in my own life, loud in ways he never made space for. His spiral wasn't my responsibility. It was just the ending he earned. And I didn't need to slam the door. It had been closed for a long, long time. It was spring, the kind of day that makes everything feel possible. I was standing in the center of a gallery, small, sunlit, filled with people I loved. Friends, co-workers, artists, mentors. I had curated my first solo event, a photo exhibit called Unfolding. Images of softness, strength, stillness, women in motion, women becoming. It wasn't just a creative milestone. It was mine. Every part of it. The vision, the planning, the execution. And beside me stood Jonah, warm smile, steady hand on the small of my back, easy presence. He didn't need to dominate a room. He just made it better by being there. He'd asked if I needed help with setup. I said no. He showed up anyway, with flowers, extra batteries for my camera, and 2 iced coffees. No grand gestures, just showing up. There was a moment near the end of the night, just before the lights dimmed before the last toast, when I turned and saw him. Marcus, standing at the far side of the room, just inside the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching. He looked tired, smaller than I remembered. He wasn't dressed for the event, just jeans, a jacket, and that same sad softness he'd been wearing for months. I didn't freeze. I didn't flinch. I just held Jonah's hand a little tighter. Marcus caught my eye, nodded once. I nodded back. Nothing more. Afterward, I found out he hadn't RSVP'd. Just showed up, quietly, hoping. Maya, my friend who helped run the event, said he stood by the exit for 10 minutes before slipping out. Didn't speak to anyone. Didn't interrupt. He just witnessed it. Me. In my joy. In my power. In a room full of light and love and people who saw me fully, and still wanted to stay. And I think that hurt more than any door I could have slammed in his face. Because it wasn't revenge. It was peace. It was presence. It was a life that moved forward without him. Not out of bitterness, but out of truth. That night, Jonah and I walked home under soft cafe lights. He asked if I wanted dessert. I laughed and said only if it involved whipped cream. He kissed my forehead and said, "Anything for you." And I believed him. Because this time, I had been chosen. Out loud. With certainty. With pride. And that made all the difference.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.